Hello YouTubers, I've decided it's time to record my second video. I just recently uploaded my first video, and that first video was recorded in March at the Temple of the Way of Light in Peru at a 12-day Ayahuasca workshop. And that video was recorded just after the second ceremony, and it's a summary of my first two ceremonies with Ayahuasca. And if you've watched that first video, you know that I mentioned in the second ceremony, it was almost a purely physical experience. I felt extremely physically sick and nauseous and like I needed to throw up. But I came to Peru with this lifelong phobia of throwing up. I've always been terrified of it, and I knew it was going to be something challenging for me to overcome. And in that second ceremony, I was unable to do it. I really needed to. My body really wanted it and needed it, but I was just unable to do it. I would just get close to it happening, and I would just cough and close off my throat and hold it in. And that's kind of what I've always done, and I wasn't able to let it go. And so going into the third ceremony, my main intention and focus was to just be relaxed in my body and to just let whatever happens, happen. And if I got sick or needed to get sick, to just let that happen. And that did end up happening. About 45 minutes to an hour or so after drinking, I did throw up. I was very happy and relieved and just happy to get it over with. And it really wasn't that big of a deal, actually, of course. But yeah, I finally was able to do that. Then as far as the ceremony goes, that third ceremony, really the biggest sort of theme or topic was just the idea of death and suicide. It was quite challenging and frightening. I was just afraid that someday I might decide to choose to kill myself, or even scarier than that, for a while I thought that maybe by the end of this workshop I would be convinced that I need to kill myself. And this was really scary. It was hard for me to relax and accept. I was pretty tense and tight and shaking and twitching and just not very enjoyable at all. Another thing that I was thinking about, another realization that I'd been having, even in the first couple ceremonies, and in this one, is the idea that nothing is really good or bad or right or wrong, just our mind makes it so. And that was just very clearly aware for me during these ceremonies. And when you apply that to the idea of suicide, it's pretty scary, because then it's kind of saying, hey, maybe there's nothing wrong with this, killing yourself, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of freaky. But that was just another fear I think I had to get through. It never showed up again in the ceremonies after that, just that third ceremony. And yeah, but that was pretty much what the third one was about. It was pretty scary, but that was it. Then the fourth ceremony, I started having some strong sense coming to me, realization coming to me that people in my life have done some pretty horrible things to me and possibly other people. And I'm not going to go into much more detail than that on here, but it was pretty challenging, pretty frightening, hard for me to accept, caused a lot of just pain and fear and me tensing up, and I wasn't able to relax enough. And really through the rest of so that's the fourth ceremony that started, pretty much from then on, it was kind of the same theme, the same main topic coming up over and over and over. And throughout all of these, and even that third ceremony, really kind of all of them, I really struggled with just relaxing and just meditating. There's a lot of techniques people have. Good one is just breathing into your heart and your heart space, and just doing these simple things it was pretty hard for me. And overall, I gotta say, the whole experience was much less visual for me than I thought it would be. Um, I mean, I had a little bit of visual stuff, but the biggest experience with that was in the first ceremony, which I talk about in the first video. Um, from then on, I mean, there's a little bit of visual stuff, but it wasn't much really. It was just, I had these strong senses coming to me, this awareness coming to me of these ideas, these things that have happened to me and in my life, and they were tough. But I do think also, actually, I know now that my mind really kind of took off with those ideas and just went a little overboard and just overthinking things and just made it a bigger thing than it really was and just blew it up even bigger. And then just being back in reality and with people in my life and talking to people, I've realized some of these things are just, they just weren't true at the most extreme end anyway. And I think, you know, like I said, I struggled to relax into visions. I think had I done so, I'd have some more sort of, I guess, closure or truth, some more just vivid proof of exactly what's happened to me and these sort of things. But yeah, my mind kind of took over and raced, and I was not able to stop resisting very much for a lot of these ceremonies. I was tense and shaking and twitching and moving, and I had a few more times in some of these ceremonies where I really almost had breakdowns like I did in the second one, but I kind of realized that I could stop myself from doing that, and it wasn't like uncontrollable, and so I didn't want to go that way. I didn't want to keep being sort of that guy and being that loud, disruptive, and it really, I think it was okay for me in that second ceremony, and a lot of good came out of it, like the vulnerability of it all, being vulnerable. I think it was great, but I think it actually is a little bit distracting when you're externalizing and just screaming and yelling and crying, and you're not actually relaxing and focusing deep within. So I was able to not go into any more giant freakouts like that, at least. But yeah, I was still twitching and resisting and not able to relax enough. That was kind of my experience with the rest of the ceremonies, really. One other thing to mention, I talked about in the first video that there was a group share circle meeting after the second ceremony, and then after that one, there was 2 or 3 more of those for the rest of the workshop, and I really believe that those were just as powerful for me as the ceremonies. They were huge. Just the sharing and the being open and being vulnerable. One of my biggest intentions going in was to just open my heart and my throat chakras, and I think I was able to do that. I talked about in the first video, but I've never liked talking to groups ever, but I was comfortable sharing with the big group during all these meetings, and it was just powerful, just the vulnerability and just sharing in much more detail even than I am here, just sharing what I went through. It was powerful, and the people were just so awesome, incredibly inspiring, loving, kind, happy, good people. They were great. Yeah, I definitely miss the temple vibe, just the vibe, and being there with those people. They're so non-judgmental, and anyone who's gonna go to the Temple of Way of Light, you know, is gonna. I mean, it's a big commitment. You know, it costs a fair amount of money. It's a big commitment. You really got to want it. And anyone who goes there, they're gonna have a lot in common. And I just met so many awesome people, and I really felt like I was finally meeting people like me on a journey like mine, and that was probably really the best thing I've taken from it so far. Now I've got friends all over the world and the country and the world, and connections and people to visit, and I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna make another video soon here about my plans going forward. I've got some big changes coming up here in my life. I'll be making a video about that soon. But yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to touch on for the rest of this workshop. Yeah. Again, I think that I wasn't quite able to relax enough. But I also think I experienced exactly what I needed to experience, and that the medicine gives you what you need and not always what you want. And this is what I had to go through. This is what I needed. And I do think that there's a lot more I can get from the medicine going forward. And I do plan to do more ayahuasca. But for now, this is what I've experienced. And I do think I'll be more prepared the next time. That was my first time doing anything with psychedelics at all. And now I'll be more ready, I think, to go deeper the next time. But that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll be doing more videos soon. See ya. Just one more thing I want to add into this video that I forgot to mention was, well, I talked about the group share circle meetings and that there was a few of them throughout the workshop. But after the 5th ceremony, when we had that share circle meeting after the 5th ceremony, I shared a lot very openly again, and I really just, at the end, I couldn't finish my words, and I was just crying, and I had to just kind of stop talking almost. I was almost done with what I wanted to say, but I just couldn't get the last parts out, and it was just a crazy experience to be so open and vulnerable, and I mean, the people there were just so awesome, and as soon as I was done and I passed on to the next person, the group facilitators, they called a bathroom break, and then a whole bunch of members, like almost everyone from the group, just came up and hugged me tightly and just supported me, and it was just like so awesome. I just couldn't believe the love. Like, it was amazing. Like, it just felt so good to just like be so open, and for them to all just be so supportive and to just help me out, it was so great. And I remember at the end of that meeting, like, no one, I think, really wanted it to end, but we were all kind of sitting there like, is anyone else going to say anything? And then finally I was just like, I feel like I've been blasted open, and like, it's really how I felt. It was at that point, like, I just felt so good, so open and clear and free. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It felt like I was just like open and free to like the infinite love of the universe that's like always surrounding us. It was incredible. Like, and I mean, I came to the temple, the Way of Light, with a lot of physical pain. It's like one of my biggest things that's pushed me on my journey in life. And in that moment, it was like they were all gone. Like my neck especially has always been a problem, and it was just like, it was perfect and amazing. Like, at that time, I just felt so good. And then the rest of that day, like, that was an off day, and I was just, we didn't have a ceremony, it was an off day, and I was just, I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I was talking to so many people, and I would just be laughing so hard. I just couldn't stop, and it was amazing. Like, I really, at that time, I felt like I had my life back. Like, I was so excited, and it was an incredible experience. In my time being back home, I mean, some of those things have come back a bit. I'm not like cured and healed all the way, but I know I touched and moved into something there, and it was powerful, and there was something great about it. So yeah, I just need to add that in there because I forgot. That was incredible. All right, see you guys.